pressure low. It'll be grand.
Welcome back, everybody, to Sure to Be Grand, your one-stop shop for two Irish Egypts, giving you their two Irish Egypt opinions on movies, for the most part. I am Daniel, and I'm here with my best pal, Eoin. Say hello, Eoin.
I was muted. My apologies. Good morning, I said good morning. Trust me, I said it. My apologies.
He actually did a very good mime impression on the video. I'm looking at him. Just like,
listen, man, I've always said it. Podcasts are a visual medium. Okay.
Yeah. But Owen, how are you?
I'm good. I got some things to discuss. Not really. We just do a recap. It's so long.
Movie?
Yes, it's one of them. It's like we leave like enough time between episodes now that I feel like we have to do like a recap at the start of just like, here's the things I've watched in the last like month or whatever.
To be honest though, like the monthly podcast is not a bad way to do it because we have a bit of to natter about.
We do, yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. It's not things are happening in the world and we get them all, at once. We get to talk about them. Never on time, but we get to talk about them.
Yeah, so what do you have to natter about? What have you been up to?
Well, first of all, the Oscars are coming up next week.
Oh, we'll have to do a podcast.
I had it. This was the question. I had a question I wanted to ask everybody because we did it. It wasn't last year. It was the year before. Was it maybe? We did an Oscars.
I did one by myself. I think I did some sort of.
So this time last year we were doing the weekly news thing, and I think we covered it on that maybe. But before that, we did a full episode just about the Oscars and all the winners and losers and everything. If anybody is interested and wants us to hear us talk about the Oscars again, I think they're on March 13th, which is awkward for me because I will be not in the country for that period of about a week or two.
Where are you off to?
I'm going everywhere. I'm doing a little mini interrailing adventure. I'm going to Prague, Vienna,
very nice.
Zagreb, and Budapest across like 2 weeks. But I
can't wait until you're kidnapped and brought into a weird hostel.
I can't either. It's going to be awesome. I've booked some weird hostels for myself to stay in, so we'll see how we go. But I'm flying out on the day that the Oscars are airing. So if I can do it, we can figure it out. If I can record from the beautiful city of Prague somehow.
Yeah, like don't be surprised, folks, if you're recording from a mobile phone on Owen's side.
Yeah, listen, it'll work. I'll do it. I'll sit in some fancy European square and record a show.
Oh, don't record outside.
I will.
Jesus.
I'll do it. I'll approach random Prague citizens and ask them what they thought of the Oscars. They won't know what the fuck I'm talking about. But yeah, that was first question. So if you would like to hear us natter about the Oscars, because it's a big year this year for Irish peoples in the Oscars. We have, I think it's 14 nominations.
Go on, the boys and girls.
Across everything, and we'll surely win something. For the love of God.
I will. But to be fair, it would be the most Irish thing if we didn't.
Yeah. I'm worried about it now because the BAFTAs were recently, and
we did quite well in the BAFTAs though. We got a win or two.
Barry Keoghan won Best Supporting Actor, and The Banshees of Inisherin won Best British Film, which lots of people have a problem with. I don't necessarily.
Is this the Flower Tell effect?
Yeah, because it's like it was. I know. Look, I understand it, right? It's an Irish cast. It's shot in Ireland. It's about Ireland, etc. So on. It was produced by Britain. It's
like
made. They're and it's generally
it's spiritually Irish, but
and I hate I hate myself for this. I hate myself for what for defending this. But the categories that they have, there's very specific criteria for when they don't call something a British film.
They're not being unfair.
They're not. They didn't just decide to claim this one. Okay, it falls into the category of British movie because it was produced and paid for by a British production company.
I didn't watch the BAFTAs. Did you?
No, I didn't watch the whole thing. I've seen bits and pieces of it. But the best part of it was.
I really would like to have seen them trying to pronounce his name.
Well, Barry's?
Yeah.
I think if I remember correctly, they said Keoghan. I think.
Oh yeah.
I could have that arseways. But the best moment of the whole BAFTAs was Paul Mescal doing an interview Oscar Gaeilge on the red carpet.
Fair fucks to him.
Now, having
Like,
said that,
put everywhere, though.
it was an interview by T.G. Carr, but he did it.
So what?
He did it. He used his Kupplerfuckel, and it's great. I think it's great to see people doing that everywhere and anywhere.
Of course, yeah.
Kupplerfuckel.
No, it's perfectly grand to do T.G. Carr. Why not? Like,
yeah, and that's like
it kind of seems dumb to do it with English.
No, but it's just cool because you can tell like he's not got like he's not like a native like fluent Gaeilgeoir or anything but he went for it like, and he wasn't afraid to like to make a few mistakes here and there or something, which is
I think that's the thing we need to do in this country as well. Like, you know, we all have snippets of Irish, you know, depending on how much we retain from school. Like, we don't have to know the entire language to speak once in a while, but a few words thrown in here and there, even to say, oh, just going up to my labba or something like that.
Yeah.
That's great. Let's keep that going.
Who's the Kupplerfuckel, lads? Huh?
Yeah.
Don't give a shit. Mine is not as what it used to be either, but I'd love the chance.
Oh, mine
start using
is
it.
about the same as it used to be. But that
here we're gonna do. This is where we make the switch, Dan. We're doing our next episode. Oscailga. We're becoming
German, you go Irish.
We are becoming a multilingual podcast. Neither of us
There'll
have
be like two people in the world who go like, this
is exactly this is exactly what I need in my life. A German and Irish podcast.
Who is it?
We need it. We won't know what we're saying to each other.
Actor again? Fassbender.
Michael Fassbender.
God.
Yeah, we make it just for him.
God.
He's like, Fassbender. Yes, finally somebody appreciates me.
You know, but look, to be fair, you know, us half German, half Irish people, very attractive people after all, you know.
Well hung.
Okay.
Michael Fassbender.
I didn't know you knew that about. Okay.
Yep.
So, yes, Michael Fassbender. Yes.
Yep. I've seen his penis.
Okay.
Michael Fassbender.
I guess.
What?
I have not.
Everybody has seen it. You can see it too if you watch a movie called Shame.
If I happen to watch Shame, I won't blink.
Yeah, come back to me about it if you want.
Okay. We'll do a review for Shame next. We'll be talking explicitly about Fassbender's penis.
It's a German and Irish language podcast where we talk exclusively about Michael Fassbender's penis.
I mean, it does sound like one of those niche podcasts, doesn't it?
I think it could work somehow. There you go.
Change the name to Michael Fassbender's. What's the Irish word for penis?
That's a good. I don't know.
Didn't learn that in school, did we?
Answers on a postcard, people. Leave us in the comments. What's the Irish translation for dick?
And it's not Richard.
It's Richard.
Oh God. Good stuff. Anyway, yes, Ant-Man, tell me, you have opinions.
Oh, fuck me, man. It's the worst pile of fucking garbage I've ever seen in my entire life. And I am not being facetious. It's awful.
I will say I don't have as strong as a feeling for you. I've just described it as a complete nothing burger and really one of the worst Marvel movies insofar as it's my second favorite Ant-Man movie.
Which is that's crazy to me. Which one did you think was worse than this? Ant-Man and the Wasp.
The second one.
Second one?
Yeah, I hardly remember it.
I will agree with you.
In this. I really love it. No, but that's the good part. I know you're like, oh my God, so good. It should be absolutely stupid looking. It should be horrifically stupid looking. It is.
Yeah, but it's not even.
You saw Modoc's ass. You know that's what we needed. All right? Fassbender's penis and Modoc's ass.
I covered my face whenever MODOK turned up on the screen. I couldn't look at him.
Good.
He's so. But then it made me even angrier. Then is because like they didn't. Right, here's the thing. Right, I understand he can look dumb, but he also looks bad.
Yes,
like it's not a good effect that they've used to make him like that. But then,
perfect. I love it.
Yeah, but then the movie spends the whole time telling you that he looks bad. And like making jokes about it, but I just don't with the Marvel's track record of treating effects artists like shit. And it came out afterwards that like 3/4 of the VFX team for Ant-Man got taken off and made to work on Black Panther instead, and they couldn't make Ant-Man look good. And I was like, yeah, it makes sense, but then don't make it a joke in the movie that it looks bad. Like it's just terrible. I think I
love the Bill Murray thing. Like people say, like, "Oh my God, Bill Murray's going to be in this." He's in it for like 2 minutes.
He's
By the
like
way,
a scene.
spoilers, I guess, for Ant-Man. Yeah.
Oh no,
There's not much of a story, to be honest.
Bill Murray's in one scene, I'm pretty sure.
And he eats a weird squid thing.
He does, yeah. He gets his throat fondled by a squid, and then the squid fondles him.
Yeah.
Look, I don't know. I think it's the worst Marvel movie now. I really do. I think it's that bad.
It's nowhere near as bad as Iron Man 3. Sorry.
But look, here's the thing, right? And again, I can't believe I'm defending so many things I never thought I'd defend today. I hated Iron Man 3, but Iron Man 3 is competently made for the most part. Like, it looks okay. It's got some good... I didn't even like Paul Rudd in this thing. He was just annoying. The kid is annoying. Evangeline Lilly has like 2 lines in the entire movie, which is, I don't know, I guess fair enough because she's anti-vax, so woohoo. But
to
like,
be honest, I didn't really like, Jesus Christ, what's Kang in this either, like, because he does things that just don't make sense. Like, hey, I promise you I'll give you your daughter back. And then he's just like, oh, I'm going to change my mind. It's like,
yeah.
But then we had this, like, maybe it's, I personally have a fan theory that, like, he actually fears Ant-Man, mostly because he pretends to not know him at the beginning, and then he names him later on without anyone ever telling him. So clearly he knows Ant-Man.
I think that might just be an incompetent script, to be quite honest.
It could be, but man, I have to salvage in some way.
Yeah, but look, I think Jonathan Majors as Kang has he's probably the best part of this in, like, his acting is decent in some of the scenes. But,
but I don't care
if you tell me right now, right, that Kang, this motherfucker, is the guy who's the next, like, Thanos for the MCU, right? This guy says he killed like hundreds of different versions of the Avengers, and he says he murdered Thor and stuff. He couldn't win a fist fight with Ant-Man.
Yeah, but that's my point. Like, maybe he fears Ant-Man.
Why?
Okay, can I just, right. We're going to move on in a second, but I want to say one thing I really actually liked about the movie past Bar MODOK. I did like that H.G. Wells sort of world that they built. I loved all the creatures, the world, but the only problem is I could have done with more of that and like more depth about the culture and all, because it just reminded me like of John Carter a bit in that regard.
Look, it was there was a lot of Star Wars in it as well.
Yeah,
for me, to be honest, it was just like a hodgepodge of like other sci-fi things, but they didn't really do anything interesting for me of their own accord. I don't know who any of the...
It's going to be forgettable. Like, literally, in a month's time when I completely... you won't remember it.
No, I won't. And the thing is, the whole purpose of the movie seems to have been to introduce Kang and to further explain who he is and what he does. But they've already done that. Loki did that. That was the point of Loki season 1, and they did it better.
Loki was really good because instead of having a Thanos that was like this looming threat that was slowly coming, we had Kang sit down to them and explain to them why he is who he is and why he does the things he does. Like, it's a really nice change from what we had with Thanos. But now...
No, now it's just Thanos again. Only there's 100 of them.
It's not. It's
the
like
Council of Kangs.
Poor copy of Thanos.
I don't know. It's just like... Yeah, it was just bad. I just think even the movie itself didn't follow its own rules half the time. We didn't know what the fuck they were doing. Nobody in this thing or who wrote this thing or put any of it together or actually knows what the quantum realm is or where it is or what the purpose of it is.
It was on the desolation plains of that one. Like, and if you go past the shield border, it goes to this place. I mean, okay.
Yeah, what the fuck are you talking about, people? Like, I thought, isn't the quantum realm, you get there by the ant family, which I hate that they're being called that now.
Yeah.
They go there by getting really, really small, right? But then they didn't do it in that. And also, Ant-Man kept doing the shrinky thing when he was in the quantum realm.
He was in the shrink, yeah.
He was already...
Like, is there another quantum level below the one?
What are these? Because these are. It's been explained by Michael Douglas, the smart one, that the quantum realm is like subatomic or whatever. What are these people made out of? What is happening down the the time scale thing? Right?
Okay.
They said they told us before.
I can explain this.
I'm really mad about this.
Right. Okay. So initially, I was very confused because it doesn't even make sense that they go subatomic, because originally in that movie they explained that they get rid of the space between atoms, right? And if you consider this, going subatomic doesn't make sense if you just get rid of all the space. But they also said that it then gets rid of the spaces within the atom itself. And that's so, like, again, this is meant to be like a portal to other universes. So, like, is this like the drain pipe of the multiverse?
Oh, man,
like,
I don't know.
Things just fall
It's
through?
also like outside of space and time, and but they've said before that on multiple times across other movies that time works differently down there, and like 2 months could be.
They've returned now, and like no time has passed, and
zero
like,
time has passed.
Scott has said like, "Oh, I was there for down there for like 5 minutes," but in reality,
it was 5 years.
4 years have passed. Yeah, 5 years have passed.
But also,
like
what's her face? The old Wasp. Janet was down there for 30 years, and it was 30 years.
Yeah.
And also, every single scene for the first hour and a half of this movie with her was the same thing over and over again. It was just a constant barrage of like, let's go back to see what Janet and the other two are doing, and it's like, how come you didn't? You need to tell us what's going on down here. And then somebody going, you didn't tell them about me, Janet? And then her refusing to speak, and it's just like, what? None of it. It doesn't make any sense. It's terrible. I hated it, and
do you like? Yeah, I don't like. Do you think we'd actually like? I was expecting a sacrifice in this. I was expecting a death, and then I thought, oh, maybe like Scott's going to be stuck down here until the next Avenger threat, and his daughter will have to find him. And they didn't even do that. Like everyone got out okay, and the worst thing we got was like him walking down the road and suddenly having like a crisis, going, "Oh shit." Did I just?
I thought there was a brief time where I thought he was going to maybe either die or just get stuck down there, and then he didn't. Also, real quick question: who opened the portal at the start of the movie to get them into the quantum realm?
I mean, MODOK did.
So MODOK can open portals to the normal world
once he has like a beacon to get him. She sent a beacon down. To like scan it like a satellite. And then once they had that beacon, he was able to open up and drag them in.
Why didn't Kang just go through that portal and leave the quantum realm?
Maybe it's easier to drag them in than push them out.
Doesn't make sense.
I mean,
none of it makes any sense.
Nah, none of this makes sense. Like, why is this the thing you're sticking on?
Because I'm a stickler thing. I actually thought about this recently, right? And why if the movie is good or fun in any way, you're much more willing to ignore little discrepancies like that, and you can suspend disbelief of you just kind of go along with stuff like that. But when the movie's bad, you're going to start nitpicking like stupid garbage like that.
Also, like even a fictional world has to have its own consistency.
It has to have
its rules.
Yeah, I mean the rules don't necessarily need to make complete sense in terms of our world.
No, as long as they make sense to themselves.
Yeah, they have to exist. You have to follow some sort of fucking guideline, man. Oh God, I don't know. Listen, I feel like we've gone on too long about Ant-Man. We're not. Ant-Man's not what we're doing. Ant-Man is not what we're doing this week. But I just needed to go on the record and say it's fucking ass.
No, but what we are doing is we are reviewing Empire of the Sun, 1987, with a Steven Spielberg film, as we suggested last time we had a podcast. Christian Bale's in this. Some big names as well. Obviously, including Christian Bale. It's like, Christian Bale's there, but there's some other actual names.
There's this kid called Christian Bale in it. There's some actual actors in it too.
Yeah. John Malkovich is in this. Miranda Richardson, Nigel Havers, Ben Stiller's in this. Weirdly, but there's quite a few of this. There's Rupert Fraser. There is Emily Richard. These have all kind of been big names throughout the years. Like I said, it was directed by Steven Spielberg. I believe it's based on a novel originally, and this is a screenplay of it. And this is, I think, one of Christian Bale's earlier movies, and the man was talented from the start, really, wasn't he?
Spielberg?
No, Christian Bale.
No.
Oh my God,
no.
You are.
We might have an argument over this.
I think we fucking will.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into it.
What the hell is going on?
What the fuck do you think? Christian Bale doesn't have
I don't like him.
acting ability.
I don't like Christian Bale. I never have.
Okay, as a person, okay, but like,
Either.
okay, right.
I've never liked
this
Christian
guy.
Bale.
Okay, right. Let's just get into the story. um, so the story starts off. This is in Hong Kong, I believe.
Shanghai.
Shanghai. That's right. Sorry, for anyone who's from there who's listening. um, but yeah, so Shanghai, it was British owned at the time, British controlled, and then World War II started coming along, and yeah, Japan. You know, it's the cusp of Japan invading, taking over, and things going very, very badly. We mostly follow a family that has, as he starts off in the movie, called with Jamie and his mother and father, who are like diplomats, British diplomats, I believe. I much like that era. Jamie has never been to like the UK. He was born here, grew up here, but in a very kind of secluded, like culturally distant from, you know, like the actual society that lives there. Like very much sheltered.
Yeah, 100%.
You know.
Yeah.
And like that happened a lot all over the place, you know, India, South Africa, and all that. I mean, even Tolkien, you know, was born in South Africa. And
oh, you meant people being? Yeah, sorry.
What
I don't know. I thought we were gonna go to. I thought we were just gonna start bashing the Brits and the Empire and stuff there for a second, which we can do.
There's a reason they're all there. I mean,
that's just sorry. You were like, listen, you know, like South Africa and India and places, and I was like, and Ireland, they were here too.
I mean, Anglo-Irish people were a thing.
Yeah.
Yes. And some of our greatest writers were Anglo-Irish, to be fair.
They were.
Yeah.
Yates was. Wasn't
yeah.
I think.
But anyway, so Jamie's a very different character at the beginning of the movie. He's basically a spoiled brat, right?
Yeah.
You know, he has like a Japanese nanny who he bullies and doesn't give a shit about at all.
Oh like, yeah, no, he treats her like shit.
Yeah. He again, like I'm
the master, and you have to listen to me.
I've seen there were some people suggest it's quite an agnostic experience he has, not in the religious way, but in that he's not really tied to any culture. He's not really tied to British culture either. Like it's just as alien to him, like as the local Japanese culture. So like Japan is not really his home. Neither is the UK. So the only connections he really has are to his nanny and to his parents. You know, beyond that.
Yeah, there's a sense that like his obsession with like airplanes and like he has like a thing for like British things, but it's like a fantasy for him almost of like he thinks of like the Great Britain and of his homeland or whatever, but it's not something he really tangibly understands or like has any.
But no, that's the problem though. You're right that he does idolize the British planes, but he also idolizes the Japanese planes. He idolizes pilots. That's what I'm saying. It's quite agnostic. He's not like, oh, Great Britain, blah blah. That's not what he's seeing. He looks at every plane in this. He looks at the pilots. He salutes the Japanese pilots as much as he salutes.
Yeah, no, you're right actually, because that changes after like later in the movie when the British planes turn up.
Yeah,
he kind of it's like a switch of allegiance for him or something.
Like the war does not exist in his head. Like this idea connection to sovereignty is not in him. He's just loves planes. He loves the theater of it, the spectacle of it. He loves the pilots, but I don't think he necessarily cares for one side over the other, except that, hey, where will we live next year, Dad? That's about it. But yeah, so
yeah, and I mean, to be fair, it is like he's a kid. It's not you know most of this movie I think is kind of, at least for him, for Jim or Jamie or whatever the fuck his name is. It's a loss of innocence for him for most of it as well.
Yes, I mean it's
in a big fucking way.
The real thing is it's from living in the humanity and the emotions and the like maybe more modern way of live, and it's a transition of that to pure pragmatic survival. And you can see his, because we see it later on, he's kind of looked after by Bassie, who finds him on the streets after he splits up from his parents, right? And he gets, kind of taken under his wing. And Bassie makes it very clear to him, like, say, hey, look, that woman, she died, take her shoes, take her food bowl, and he's like, oh, I don't want to do that. But he's just like, no, you kind of have to. We even get this kind of imagery of, we see the shoelaces being like untied, but it's covered by a cloak, almost like you're hiding these inconvenient elements of it. But what I was going to say is, like, when he goes to the doctor later on at Dr. Rawlins is like teaching him Latin, trying to keep his education. And at one stage he says, here, did you learn this poem? And Jim, at this stage, because Jamie has now become American and turned into Jim.
He's been adopted by the Americans.
He just rattles off the poem. There's no breaks, no pauses. He just, obviously, like, Jim is like smart in a way, but he just rattles it all off. But like, no,
that's exactly how we did in school.
Yeah, well, how you did it.
Just rattle it off. Just memorize the thing. Yeah. Don't think about what you're actually reading.
Or you do what I did and you learn one poem off really, really well, and then try to cover everything with it.
Yeah, no that works too.
The questions are in it.
That works too.
Yeah, but yeah. So the doctor's like, no, this is poetry. You're meant to feel it. You're meant to understand it. And there we get that, like, Jim's or Jamie's death of his humanity in a bit. Like, there's no sort of enjoyment for poetry, or it's all pure survival.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, he's learned this poem because he's been told to, and that's what he has to do to be able to come in here, talk to the doctor, and get the sort of things he gets, So, like, I don't think it's even like a step into darkness. This is just a kid literally surviving and changing who he is completely. So much so that by the end of the movie, he doesn't even like recognize or remember his parents' faces, because he's literally just like used every scrap of his brain, reworked it to survive.
Yeah, I don't know. To be honest with you, I mean, I agree with you. I agree with what you're saying. Sorry, I'm not trying to argue with you or anything. It's just like, for me,
I think he's quite happy. What are you on about? Yeah,
it's just I don't think that understanding of what is happening around him ever fully comes for him.
No,
like he never fully seems to actually. Like, there's a sense of like he's dealing with it, I suppose, and really, and it's probably like it's probably like his kid brain like refusing to accept it or anything. But there's never a moment where I really thought that Jamie finally understands what's going on around him, and that the world is not the fantasy land, and these pilots and soldiers that he has like idolized they're not just like action figures or toys that he can just look at and go, oh, isn't that cool? Like, there's
detachment. Yeah,
there's complete, like, he's still annoying for the whole fucking thing.
Oh, he is. No, he's an annoying little brat. Absolutely. I'm not going to say that's not true. Look, he's literally a kid who before was spoiled like hell, and then he was thrown in to survive in a prison camp. Like, he's not going to be the most soft, well-spoken child in the world, like, but I think you're right there. I mean, this movie is about trauma. It's about PTSD, and all this kid really does is he's reactionary. If there's anything that doesn't interact with him explicitly, he doesn't take it in. He only deals with his little world. If that is, stealing, like winning marbles, stealing soap, if it's him being at his house and eating like chocolate liqueurs. Like, he looks around at the world and sees it, but like, even, you know, at the beginning of the scene where we see some Americans escaping his neighborhood, and he's like cycling after them, right? And the people in the back of the thing, I mean, they were like cheering him on, but they weren't really like
they could have reached.
reaching out or anything.
They could have
you know?
reached out for him or something, you know.
Yeah, they go, come on, you could do it. It's like, just reach
Yeah,
for him.
let's go, little buddy. You could get on this truck. Oh, you
Yeah.
didn't make it. Oh well.
Yeah, but he doesn't like fall to his knees and burst into tears when they go away. He's just like confused. He's like, "Oh, that's annoying. Why couldn't I catch up?"
Yeah.
And I mean, I think Bassi, like, I think we're meant to see him a bit of a scoundrel, probably not the best guy. You know, played by John Malkovich, we get the impression that he kind of has taken him under his wing, but only insofar as, hey, you're useful to me, and while you're useful to me, I'll look after you and use you as a tool. But, you know, because we see it at the very beginning when he's able to get onto the back of the truck. He's like, after all, like, being with him and teach him how to get food and all that, he just walks away. He just doesn't give a shit. Jumps onto the cart and drives away. And eventually, you know, he obviously comes along and follows him, and he starts talking to him again, like nothing has ever changed. I mean, we see that mostly when, you know, he's really trying to get he wants to get, you know, adopted by the Americans in the prison camp, and he looks up at Bassi and went, "But we're friends, please. We're friends. Please let me in." And John Malkovich is a fantastic actor, as we all bloody well know, but he has this twist in his eyes and this open mouth, like, you still don't get it. I'm not your friend. Like, he doesn't say it to him, but he's very much like, wow, this kid is still not like clued into.
He's still all the shit going on. He still doesn't cop who I am to him.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, we see this kind of fantasy because he's sort of like adopted by this couple in the prison camp. I think, was it Miss Victor and I guess Mr. Victor?
Yes. Let's say yes.
Yeah. And they kind of adopt him. Miss Victor's obviously a bit sick, but they adopted him insofar as, like, they're purely looking after him because he's a kid. They clearly don't like him a lot either. They're just like, yeah.
No, that's like, I don't think anybody likes Jim, to be honest. They're all just like, everyone's kind of like annoyed by him. Maybe the doctor somewhat is actively like, but everyone's just kind of like, oh, this little, like, he's a kid and we're humans, so we're going to help him. But like, he's fucking annoying.
Yeah.
That's sorry. Mrs. Victor is Miranda Richardson.
Yes.
Plays Mrs. Victor, who's also a much highly accoladed actress as well, and I don't think she had a massive amount to do in this.
Well, she had a quite poignant scene. To be fair, she was dead, but she had a poignant scene.
Yeah, that's literally the definition of not having much to do. She was dead.
Yeah, I think that was probably the most fantastical scene we had as well. And I suppose it's also the scene that explains how Jim sees the world, because, you know, Jim walks into this giant field with all the other people from the camp, and it's just full of all their stuff, just out on a grid. It's almost dreamlike, right? Like, all your stuff is suddenly in front of you in a random stadium field. It's weird.
Yeah, I did think that entire sequence felt a bit odd.
But I suppose that would be how it would. But then they're like, he wants to stay with Miss Victor because the rest of the group is just like, hey, yeah, there's nothing here. We can't eat this. We need to move on. We haven't eaten in days. And they leave him behind, I guess, which is kind of dark, to be honest, but that try and survive themselves. And maybe that's where we kind of see a little bit of the old Jim coming through. He stays with her, even though the practicality would be to leave her. And what you were saying about him not really understanding the world kind of happens here, in that it's not that he so much doesn't understand what's happening, it's more that he sees it through his own lens. He sees Miss Victor die, and then we know there's, the nuclear bomb gets dropped, and there's this quite ethereal sort of angelic explosion and rings of light coming out, and he thinks he just saw the soul of Miss Victor go into heaven, right? Here's the thing. He technically saw the souls of many, many people going into heaven in that moment, but he only registered at a personal level. He only registered as the one person. Now he understands later on what actually happened, and he kind of, oh, that's what happened, and maybe that's why he becomes a person again as well, because he says, oh no, that was the bomb that was dropped and killed all those people. But I thought it was Miss Victor because that really hurt me. Oh, and now suddenly these two things are connected. Now the big giant world of a city was just destroyed and people died is connected to him emotionally. Now it's not anymore of a, oh, look at the pilot flying there. Oh, look, it's Miss Victor going into heaven. Now it's the reality of war has been squashed down to his understanding. That's a moment of awakening for him.
Yeah, I don't know. That's kind of what I was saying earlier, though. I still don't think he gets it. I don't.
Well, he did get
it
there because
like Jim is. He feels like a passenger to me in the entire thing. Like he's just.
You don't think near
sort of
the
there.
end when he starts finding out that he wakes up? Because I think he does. I think it's why is so basically dead behind the eyes when his parents find him, because he has. I think the first mental breakdown we see of him is when he's on top of the Japanese sergeant's house and he sees the Americans blow the base to bits, and he just maniacally starts laughing. He doesn't even know why he's laughing. He's just laughing. He's just screaming and laughing, where the doctor has to bring him down, like, Jim, are you okay? And that's when he talks about how he doesn't remember his parents. He doesn't remember their faces. It's like this. It's the first cracking, and I think when he thought he saw Miss Victor go into heaven, it was almost like he was kind of like returning to his old self. And then when he found out, no, that was a bomb, and he goes, oh, I think everything then is brought back down to him, because then he meets, earlier in the movie, he meets a Japanese kid who's like a boy pilot, kamikaze boy pilot, and he salutes him at the fence, and the boy, I think, I'm not sure if the boy had a name, but he kind of saves him from one of the sergeants later on by distracting him and all this kind of stuff. They have like a rapport through fence lines, a little bit like the boy in the striped pajamas sort of vibe. Really.
Yeah, I thought the same.
Yeah. But we then later on see the boy, and he's he survived and he has landed his plane, and for both of them obviously have gone through traumatic stuff, because he was about to attack him with a sword before he realizes who Jim was. And they sit down, they have I think an orange or something. They eat something and they relax and have a good time. And it's like I can just see the waves coming in and out for Jim's character. He keeps on saying, oh, I'm going back to my childhood stuff. Oh no, I'm going back to having to be super practical about everything. And then he goes back to his childhood self. He's with this boy pilot, and then obviously the pilot gets shot by the practical people, and he loses his shit, and he literally almost drowns a fully grown man with his anger. And so I don't think he's beyond understanding it. It's just he understands the war from only his point of view, and the more he learns about the war, the more it affects him in the last chapter of the film, basically.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, he has a limited window, but I think the more he learns, the more he can't deal with it, because I guess that's the point. Like he had a small window because he was a kid and he was just trying to survive. So he only focused on what he needed to. But then when he started realizing it's bigger, he just falls apart. He just can't handle it. There is
he should have
no
killed the
glorious end
American?
to this.
Do you think he should have killed the American?
I kind of I got his anger.
I think he should have killed him. I really think he should have killed him. I actually felt very sorry for that Japanese pilot boy, to be honest.
Of course.
One of the moments that actually struck me was there's a scene with the pilot boy, and it's when the Japanese have decided to evacuate the camp. They're just abandoning everybody.
Yeah.
And it shows him he's finally like, okay, you have to do your duty for Japan now, and he's going through the ritual of kamikaze before he gets in his plane, and then his plane won't start and he can't take off, and he breaks down crying and everything. And that's why I think, like, when Jim comes back and finds him, he still hasn't left. He's still sitting beside his plane, like hoping that it'll take off. And I liked. Yeah, I don't know, really, to be honest. How would you say this? Because Spielberg's done a lot of war movies at this stage.
Yes, so
I want to say like 7 or 8 of them at this point now. They're not all the same war or anything. In comparison to his other work surrounding the war, and I know that his dad served in World War II. I think he was a radio engineer or something. Comes up a lot in The Fablemans, the new one, which I went to see afterwards and is quite good. But is it like, where does this
high ranking? I don't want to say ranking because with Spielberg, like, all his movies,
not a ranking. It's impossible. You can't watch a Spielberg movie and not find something of
value,
complete worth and incredible filmmaking is in every one of his movies. I didn't like this very much. I don't think it adds up to the sum of its parts. When you look at the cast and the filmmaker and
fantastic,
and the topic and everything,
snapshots of them most of the time.
Yeah, it just felt. I think this one has a lot of problems. I found it quite dull at times, which is very odd. I think there's a pacing issue. It just sort of plodded along to me for a lot of it. But then there are certain moments that you just drive home. You're just instantly reminding, oh yeah, Steven Spielberg knows what he's doing, doesn't he? Like he.
No, I mean honestly, like the ethereal nuclear blast is magical. I know it's obviously special effects team who worked on that, brilliant, but that was his intention. It was meant to look beautiful.
They dropped a real nuclear bomb.
Yeah.
No, sorry. That's what Christopher Nolan is doing for Oppenheimer.
No, he fucking is.
He probably is a fucking asshole. I don't know. It's just, for me, it's not his worst. I definitely would say. I mean, again, best and worst with Spielberg is hard to.
If you're asking me, I think it is unique in his war stories. Until someone tells me, oh, actually, this happens. This is bad. Insofar as it's. So Spielberg's really good at writing about a kid's perspective, because I think Spielberg understands that we're all just children, really. We all have our fears about the world. We can all associate to being a kid out in deep water trying to figure out what's going on around us. I think it's a quite unique take on a war movie. I don't think we get, like, I know Studio Ghibli has done it with Fireflies, but it's very rare we get a child's perspective. Not a movie about war of a child in it, but we experience the movie through Jim. Now, we as adults understand what else is going on. Like, when we see the big nuclear blast, we know it's a nuclear blast. We know it's not, Miss Victor going to heaven. But we see most of this movie through his feelings, through his eyes, through his scope. And I think that's quite unique. And I think this movie, with its flaws, and it does have flaws, I shouldn't defend it beyond reason, but it's a movie that was well worth making, and kind of showing the barbaric nature of kids being in prison during war, which, I mean, it's still happening now.
Yeah, 100%. I think you've talked me around more on it, to be honest. I'm still not like crazy about it. And I think, honest to God, as mentioned, I do not like Christian Bale at all.
Is it the shark eyes thing? It's a little bit cold inside the eyes.
I honestly am not sure. It's just everything. There's maybe like there's a couple of movies that I think he's good in. I think he's brilliant in The Fighter. I think that's a fantastic movie, and he's brilliant in it. But I never have quite gotten what everybody sees in Christian Bale, to be honest. I found him instantly grating, but that's my own personal thing. Like, coupled with the fact that Jim is an annoying character. On top of that, Christian Bale.
He's a bratty kid.
Yeah, but like on top of that, Christian Bale annoys me personally. I think maybe that colored my opinion of the whole thing. I remember instantly I started watching it. I didn't know he was in it and then he popped up, and I think I texted you. I was like, wait, hang on, Christian Bale's in this fucking thing.
You recognize him when he frowns at anything.
I was just like instantly, oh no, I'm not gonna enjoy this now. Like almost on purpose, because I don't like Christian Bale. I don't think like there's a lot of good in it. I wouldn't like. It's not.
Should we bring this into?
Yeah, we can. Yeah, sure. This feels like we're wrapping up. Hang on a second. Let me play the jingle.
Yes, Mr. Frodo. It's over now.
Yeah, I don't think it adds up to what it could and what it should for me. It's certainly not for me. It's not a Schindler's List or a Saving Private Ryan.
No, it's not.
It's not up there. It's probably better. It's like, it's not as boring as Bridge of Spies or something like that. But like, yeah, again, I don't know. It's a weird one. It's not like, again, it's Steven Spielberg, and it's fucking. It's an war epic that like there's obviously good shit in it. I would have been really interested to see, because David Lean was initially signed up to direct this. Spielberg was only supposed to produce. David Lean of Lawrence of Arabia, Bridge Over the River Kwai, Dr. Zhivago, like he had started working on it, and then he kind of decided I think he felt like he'd done enough of this kind of thing, and he stepped away, and Steve Spielberg, who was producing it, came in to direct it. You can tell Spielberg obviously thought found it a very personal story for himself. But it's just, I don't know. I just wasn't mad about it. Like, it took me I watched it in 2 parts.
Okay. That might have explained the pacing. Why's the middle of this movie so?
No, that's why I stopped. I was like falling asleep. I was like,
I feel like we're watching this for days. What the hell?
This movie's been on for like a week, man. What the fuck is happening here? It's on a loop.
I'm going to make a weird comparison, and don't take it straight away for what I'm saying. This feels a lot like The Lord of the Rings, in that it's a physical journey for the characters, but it's also a sort of cyclical journey for the characters. Like, they start off in quite an innocent place, and they move on, and they see some horrors, right? And then there are moments of brief sort of saving where, like, it's like Merry and Pippin, like they started off as rambunctious, mad little men, and they go through Moria, they lose Gandalf, and they start to realize, like, this is not just a fucking trip with the cousin Frodo there. This is like serious, and it's painful. They lose Boromir, they get kidnapped by orcs. But then there's this brief moments of them against, like, being in Rohan, and they're dancing and having food, and they're enjoying themselves. But then they have to split up again, and they go back into the horrors of war, of horrors of losing each other. So there's this like these short reprieves of this horrible dark journey they go on, where they come back. The only difference is that Merry and Pippin are adults. Frodo and Sam are adults. You know, I didn't really mention Frodo and Sam because they don't have many moments of reprieve. Like it's just a really shit show all the way to Mount Doom.
Yeah, those guys had it hard, huh?
Yeah, but like for Merry and Pippin, it certainly is a journey of like, you know, highs and lows and return to who they were before the journey. But I mean, even like Frodo mentions when they return back to the Shire, like they're not the same people that they used to be, and they look around and everyone's acting normal. Because when we see Jim at the end, he's in the orphanage kind of safe zone place, and it's already starting to look normal again. There's a whole bunch of just kids, and they're all dressed quite well, and their posh parents come in, and you know there's normalcy coming back in. But Jim's never gonna be normal again. Like Jim's never gonna be Jamie again, and I don't think Jim is Jim anymore either. He's been changed enough to understand that pragmatism is needed, but he's not dead in so much that emotions are important. Like his emotions are still important to him, and we kind of see that kind of shell shock, I suppose, from Frodo at the end of the Lord of the Rings as well.
Mm-hmm.
I guess Frodo got it because, again, like I said, there weren't any reprieves. Like the only moment of like, hey, things are grand again is when he wakes up and Gandalf is just smiling, going, and he's going, no. So I mean, basically, what I'm trying to say is like, there is a journey of character change and the return to the old self and realizing you're not there anymore. You've left home, and sure, you can return back to where you were before, but it's not home anymore. It's not who you are, and you don't fit into that puzzle anymore.
Always comes back to the Lord of the Rings.
It does.
Everything we do.
But I mean, look,
new movies. Haha.
Yeah.
We're getting new movies, everyone.
Yeah. Oh God, let's not. We'll talk about that next time because I do not want to talk about that. I feel like such an old person. Like, no, they did it better. We don't need to do it again. This is stupid. But I said to him like, but they did do it better. They don't need to do it again. These movies are fine.
No, they haven't specified what the movies are.
The Scouring of the Shire. Yeah, just do one. Just Tom Bombadil and the Scouring of the Shire.
Yeah. Just do the bits Peter Jackson didn't do. That's all we want.
We want the extended cut.
Yes, exactly.
We want Legolas bring Gimli around. Gimli bring Legolas around to like the Glittering Caves and says, "Hey, check out these caves, dude. Oh, you should see Mirkwood.
Pretty sick caves, bro."
And then them just marrying and going off to the Undying Lands. Give me all those. Just and don't bring back any of the actors, like all fresh actors, but exactly the same timeline. You know,
they should get all the actors who were considered for the Peter Jackson movies and didn't get the part.
Who was the guy who played Aragorn for like a day?
Oh, I can't think of his name now. Yeah, he was on set for like was it Thomas Townsend or something like that?
Yeah,
they had him on. He was on set for like 3 days, and then they were like, "This is not working." No, get him in. See what he's doing. I don't know what he's doing these days.
No. You bring back the original cast, but have them all play different roles.
You know what that would mean if they did do that? We'd have a CG Christopher Lee playing Gandalf.
Oh, poor.
I'm sad.
Poor man who spent all his life loving Tolkien said, "I'd love to play Gandalf." It's like, nah,
man,
no.
You're the bad guy.
To be fair, he was a fantastic.
He was brilliant too. He's Christopher Lee.
So legend always. But yeah, folks, I think we'll leave it at that for the moment. We might be doing a review on the D&D movie, and we'll talk about all the shenanigans that D&D has been up to as well, I suppose. But join us for that. Folks, look after yourselves, and it's a goodbye from me.
Slán Abhaile.
Auf Wiedersehen.